got a call coming in right now. All right. Hello.
Yay.
Hello, who's there?
Hello?
Yeah, who's calling?
This is Brad Snow.
Brad Snow?
Yeah.
Hi, Brad Snow. I'm Cap.
I'm Ruel.
Ryan.
We should definitely do that for every call.
Yeah.
What's shaking, man? And what would you like to know?
So, me and my friends, we play Star Wars as the Empire, the Star Wars role-playing game.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of hoping to make it into a podcast, much like Dungeons and Doritos and Ghostbusters Resurrection.
Yeah.
I was curious, what programs do you typically use to record it, your games, and what kind of equipment do you typically use?
Well, I can tell you what we started with, and because if I told you what we have right now, you'd be like, "Oh no, I can't do that." that requires generously donated support money.
Yeah.
What we started with was a very simple 4-channel mixer. The kind you can go to like the sound department of like a Sam Ash or Guitar Center and pick up. And we had some a couple pretty rudimentary mics, but they were ones that had XLR inputs, so they were like stage quality microphones. But there's a lot of ways to do it. The challenge with Dungeons and Doritos, the reason the first episode sounds so terrible is we never mic'd for something like that before. We didn't have enough mics, so we turned them all on like wide open, so they were capturing all the noise on the table, and just hoping we could hear everybody. Obviously that's a terrible idea and you shouldn't do it. What I would recommend, knowing what I know now, is one, either hooking up with a friend who's got a studio background, or
You gonna be hooking up with people for microphones and stuff?
Well, maybe.
Is that what you said?
Yeah, I would recommend it.
All right, do what you got to do to get the deal secured. I get you.
Or I would say invest in a Zoom H2 or similar thing. It's basically a very versatile mini recorder, and it's got 2 channels, 4 channels. You can set it to be in a number of directions, but it has a good omnidirectional thing, and it's actually what we use to record the
E3 podcasts.
Yeah.
So if you like the sound of the E3 podcast, and that's a really good place to start, then that's where to go.
Yeah, it has a good room sound. The trick is to make sure it's sitting on something that's like a high density foam, so it won't pick up much table noise. Because as soon as people are thumping their hands on the tables or doing anything that you would probably do with a role playing game, it's going to pick up a bunch of noise you won't want. And that records to an SD card, so then it imports as a wave, and you can edit that on anything. What we used in the early days was a program called Audacity, and it's free, but it's also terrible.
Such a true review.
Get what you pay
100% true review right there. Free, but it was also terrible, but it did do the job. That multi-tracking he's talking about is very useful.
Yeah.
If you want to get versed in that, try one of those free programs just so you can see what it's like.
There's also a way to get Adobe Audition 3.0 for free from Adobe. I don't know if it's still going on, but basically Adobe was making it available because it was an older version of the program. It also happens to be the most stable version they ever made, and it's what we use to record presently. So we're using it this very moment.
That actually was they when they first bought Cool Edit Pro, that's what that came from. They transferred that over. They transferred Cool Edit over to Adobe Audition, and that was the first version of that. And then each successive version of Audition has been a stripping of all the features of Cool Edit and then adding them back in one at a time.
Ghostbusters,
as
cool
they get higher
story, bro.
Yeah, that's right.
Industry shit. That's some industry talk right there. Ghostbusters Resurrection is recorded with a single mic over a table. They used a boom setup to record from above. So that's another option. Of course, it's a little precarious with scaffolding and all that. But for role playing, when you don't have the opportunity to individually mic everyone, which is expensive and complicated, these days I would say what's available with micro recorders is so good, and you can do so much with so little. I'm talking about like $120, $150, and you'll have everything you need. It's totally worthwhile, and it has a really great kind of surround sound presence to it.
You just miss out on some of the clarity of moments. I do recognize that, in D&D, you definitely know who's talking at all times, and that is what happens when you are. Oh, I like my picture up on the thing. That is what happen. That is what's happening when you can't tell what the who's saying what, and that is really important in an RPG if they are individually mic'd. But that's obviously much later.
Yeah, we're probably trying to do something with like either the micro recorders or get some sort of multi-directional microphone, kind of like the boom. Because we all play in one room together.
Yeah, no, either is a very valid option. So
also, if you could have somebody monitoring the sound, if whatever it is that you're using has an ability to monitor the sound, that's great, because then you can tell if somebody needs to come closer, or they need to move further back, or they're being too loud and overmodulating.
Right,
that's
like
super important.
That's probably going to end up being me, because everyone else is too lazy to bother.
Well, hey, you're the one asking. You're the one asking the important questions of how do we do this. So yeah, I think it defaults to you. You got to be a firm leader. So.
But don't be the GM at the same time. That's just too much to do.
Yeah, that's a bad move.
How much actually gets edited out of the finished episodes?
Oh my God!
Just like
you have no idea.
Page and talk.
It's pretty funny.
It takes us
I like
an
the
hour.
moments. I like the moments that are like canonically messed up. Like, no, you just said that guy had a broadsword. Oh shit! All right, all of that can't be done. Then hold on.
Then we just have a nice clean take of broadsword.
Broadsword.
Yes.
And edit that in somewhere else.
Pull anything down.
But as far as editing concerned, the way that we do it is pretty specific in terms of editing out all the verbal pauses for the most part, and obviously cutting out some of the table talk or some of the longer pauses, or some of the what we would call like off panel, or we're not, this discussion isn't for the air, or whatever it is. And we'll edit that stuff out. Typically, you will record for 3 to 4 to 5 hours, and then it cuts down to an hour and a half to 2 hours. So it's a very extensive, and whatever you record, as far as editing is concerned, whatever you record, it's about double that in terms of time to edit at the very least. And that's just cutting things out and not editing sound effects and music and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
it can be pretty intense.
Thanks for the advice.
Of course. Thanks for asking, man. Glad you called.
All right. Yeah.
Well, take care. Thanks for joining us, and
yeah,
we'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Who's next?
I am.
Ryan.
So
what's
Colin,
up?
if you record an episode for 6 hours, you're sitting there editing for 12 hours before you even get to any sound effects?
At the very least, yes.
Yeah, man.
Wow. That's commitment.
You're my hero.
That's why everybody's like, oh, D&D takes forever. Yes, it does. It takes a long time.
Wow. Now I feel bad for only planning the games like 10 minutes before I show up. I should put more effort into my end of things.
Yeah, and then you're like, oh, what? I'm really excited to see what this sounds like, and you do this crazy fucking thing where and you talk about how you hear all these things, and I'm like, oh, damn it, Ruel.
What's really bad is that the first time that drove you nuts, I didn't even know you were putting the sound effects in. I was just describing them. And then after you complained about it, I'm like,
the wave of fire.
Yeah, I am going to keep doing. Yeah, the big tornado of fire and stuff.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, going in. That one was pretty difficult, but fun. Although I do have to say, the first time I took over as the editor was when we did the arm wrestling episode with the elves.
Oh,
And-
bomb.
Yeah, I'm never doing that again, but it was really fun to do, to add in all of that extra,
Foley.
background Foley and sound of all the French elves doing their, crappy ass elf shit.
Les bleus, je ne sais quoi.
Yeah, exactly. I had my wife do French dialect stuff. I did some stuff. I looked up on Babelfish, like all the different what would be said and all that. Oh, it was horrible.